What were the primary motivations behind NERSA's decision to approve guidelines for load shedding up to stage 16, as outlined in the latest revision of the load shedding code of practice?
Good morning, Masichaba. The motivation is really to cater for emergency situations where there's a potential blackout. A potential blackout would happen under circumstances where the generation capacity, in terms of capacity, there are challenges, or in terms of the transmission and distribution infrastructure, there's congestions, any type of an emergency. Remember that a blackout, unlike load shedding, it's unplanned. Whereas load shedding, you shed the demand or the load, but you plan it. So so it's almost like an insurance policy. In the event that an emergency happens, we should be able to have adequate response measures on the technical side that can help South Africa to avoid a complete blackout.
Can you elaborate on the collaborative efforts involved in developing the new guidelines for load shedding stages, particularly concerning the participation of experts from various stakeholders such as Eskom, the energy intensive user group, metros, and the regulator itself?
Yes, so you have all the key role players that would have an influence or an impact on helping such an emergency. For instance, the system operator is the critical player within Eskom, which would be the one responsible to implement these measures. What is required from them is to make sure that there's enough reserve capacity for that emergency. Then you have energy-intensive users group, which are the groups that really industry and mining, the big users. They would be called upon to reduce the load, or then you have the municipalities who could be asked to curtail their own load or to deal with the distribution infrastructure. All the critical role players around the table that would be able to, or would be critical to respond to such an emergency.
Now, Huse, with the implementation of load shedding guidelines up to stage 16, what specific changes or provisions have been made in the code to enhance grid stability and provide certainty to curtailment customers?
So it's not really giving assurance. It's really making sure that technically, should an event of an emergency, which would be unplanned, happen, every one of those role players will be able to play their role, and it empowers the system operator to be able to act to that extent. Because before, as you correctly pointed out, it was only up to stage 8.